The Alpha King's hand closed around my throat, and I knew this was how I'd die. "Shift!" Darius Thornwall's command cracked through the festival grounds like thunder. Every wolf in the Silvercrest pack felt it, that ancient power that lived in an alpha's voice, the kind that made your bones ache to obey. But I had no wolf to answer. I never had. 23 years of nothing. No shift on my 18th birthday. No wolf whispering in my mind. Just silence where there should have been wildness. Emptiness where there should have been rage. The pack's greatest shame, they called me. The broken Omega who couldn't even manage what every pup did naturally. Now I was on my knees in front of them all. The entire pack gathered for the Blood Moon Festival. Hundreds of witnesses to my final humiliation. The sacred moonstone pendant I'd supposedly stolen lay in the dirt beside me, planted there by Selani's clever hands during my cleaning duties. I'd found it in my quarters an hour ago, understanding the trap too late. "She's a thief," Selene Blackthorn announced from her place beside Darius's throne, her beautiful face twisted with manufactured grief. "The moonstone has been in my family for generations. To find it among her rags—" "I didn't take it," I managed, though Darius's grip made breathing difficult. "I would never." Silence. His voice was ice. His eyes, cold gray like winter storms, held no mercy. "You've been worthless to this pack your entire life, Kira Ashford. Couldn't shift, couldn't contribute. We kept you alive out of charity, and this is how you repay us? Charity. They worked me like a slave, gave me scraps to eat. Let Selene and her friends use me as their personal punching bag. But sure, charity. The old laws are clear," Darius continued, addressing the crowd now. "Theft of sacred objects demands death. But I'm curious." Those gray eyes cut back to me, and something cruel flickered there. "They say Alpha Command can force a shift even in the most stubborn wolf. Let's see if you've been hiding your wolf all this time, or if you really are the defective thing you appear to be." Horror shot through me. "No, please. If you shift, you'll face trial for your crime. If you can't—" He smiled, and it was a terrible thing. "Then the goddess herself has judged you unworthy of life." Around us, the pack murmured. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked eager for the spectacle. Selene's smile was vicious satisfaction. Darius released my throat and stepped back. The moonlight caught his dark hair, the strong lines of his face that had made me stupid enough to dream, once, when I was younger, and didn't understand that men like him didn't see girls like me as anything but insects to crush. "Shift Kira Ashford. I command it as your Alpha King." The power in those words slammed into me like a physical blow. I felt it in my bones, in my blood, in every cell of my body. It was absolute, undeniable. The kind of force that made Alpha Command different from a simple order. It reached into the wolf itself and demanded obedience. But I didn't have a wolf. Pain exploded through me anyway. My body convulsed, muscles tearing, bones trying to reshape themselves into something that didn't exist. I screamed, the sound ripping from my throat as the command tried to drag out a shift that couldn't happen. Except something was happening. Heat flooded my veins, not the natural warmth of a shift, but fire, burning, consuming. I heard myself screaming again, but the sound changed, deepened, became something animal and wild. My bones didn't just break and reform. They shattered and rebuilt themselves into something entirely new. Gold light erupted from my skin. The force of it blasted outward. Windows shattered. The festival fires extinguished all at once, plunging the grounds into darkness, broken only by the impossible glow radiating from my transforming body. Wolves scattered, some thrown back by the shockwave of pure power. And then I was on 4 paws, and the world looked different, clearer, sharper. Every scent distinct and overwhelming. Fear, shock, burning wood, Darius's rage, and something else that I didn't understand. I was massive, I realized dimly. Bigger than any wolf I'd ever seen, my fur the color of molten gold with silver tips that caught the moonlight. The pack oracle's voice cut through the chaos, thin and reedy with age, but carrying across the stunned silence. "Goddess, save us! The mark! She bears the mark!" I didn't understand until I felt it. A burning on my right shoulder, like a brand settling into my flesh. Not painful exactly, just present, permanent. Pack members were dropping to the ground, not in fear, in submission. Their wolves recognizing something mine was projecting, some authority they couldn't resist. I saw Darius fighting it, his whole body rigid with the effort of staying upright, but even he swayed. Even the Alpha King wanted to kneel. The Oracle stumbled forward, her clouded eyes somehow fixed on me. When she spoke again, her voice wasn't her own. It was layered, ancient, echoing with power. The true Alpha rises, the false throne crumbles, blood will answer for blood, and the Thornwall reign ends where it began, in betrayal. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. I tried to shift back, to speak, to explain that I didn't understand any of this. My wolf, because apparently I had one now, holy goddess, I had a wolf. Resisted at first, then slowly released me. The change back was gentler than the forced shift had been, but it left me naked and shaking in the dirt. Someone threw a cloak over me. I barely registered it. My mind was spinning, trying to process what had just happened, what the Oracle's prophecy meant. Darius moved first. He crossed the distance between us in 3 strides, grabbed my arm, and hauled me to my feet. His touch burned where it met my skin, not painful, but intense, electric. Our eyes met. The world tilted. The mate bond snapped into place between us, like a chain made of starlight and inevitability. I felt his shock mirror my own, felt the recognition his wolf was screaming even as the man fought against it. This wasn't possible. This wasn't... No, Darius breathed, but his grip on my arm tightened involuntarily. No, this can't... The bond didn't care what he wanted. It was there, absolute and undeniable. His wolf had found its mate, in me. The broken Omega who'd just proven she carried the bloodline his family had supposedly exterminated 3 centuries ago when they stole the throne. Kill her! Celine's voice was pure venom. She'd risen from where the power blast had thrown her, her perfect face contorted with rage. Kill her now, Darius. Before what? The Oracle's laugh was bitter. Before truth demands its price? The Thornwalls built their reign on murder and lies. Did you think the goddess would forget? Darius's hand was still on my arm. Through the bond, oh goddess, the bond, I felt his mind racing, felt him calculating odds and options. His chosen mate was demanding my death. His entire legitimacy as Alpha King was threatened by my existence. But I was his fated mate, and that meant something even he couldn't ignore. Darius, Celine's voice turned pleading. She's a threat. You know what has to be done. For a moment that stretched too long, he stared at me. Those gray eyes held 100 thoughts I couldn't read. Then his jaw tightened with decision. Lock her in the West Tower, he ordered. No one sees her. No one speaks to her. I need time to think. Not execution, not freedom, but not a choice made either. As his guards moved forward to take me, Darius leaned close. His breath was warm against my ear, and through the bond, I felt his conflict like a physical thing. Duty versus instinct, power versus fate. You should pray to the goddess that I find a way to let you live, he whispered. Because if I can't, I'll kill you myself, fated mate or not. Then he released me, and the sudden absence of his touch felt like a wound. The last thing I saw before they dragged me away was Celine's face, beautiful and murderous in the moonlight, already plotting how to destroy the Omega who'd stolen everything she wanted. The mate bond pulsed between Darius and me like a second heartbeat, connecting us whether we wanted it or not. And somewhere on my shoulder, the mark of Lunara burned with ancient fire, branding me with a destiny I didn't understand and couldn't escape. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. I woke to silk sheets and morning light streaming through windows that weren't barred but might as well have been. The room was beautiful. That was the worst part. Rich burgundy drapes, furniture that looked like it cost more than I'd seen in my lifetime, a 4-poster bed so soft I'd barely slept for fear of getting used to comfort I'd lose. Everything screamed luxury. From the plush carpet under my bare feet to the private bathroom with hot water that didn't run out. I'd traded the servants' quarters, a drafty closet with a leaking roof, for the Alpha King's private wing. From sleeping on a moldy mattress to silk and down feathers. All it cost was my freedom. Good morning, miss. The guard outside my door, a stern-faced woman named Petra, opened it without knocking. She never knocked. Breakfast will arrive shortly. The Alpha King has selected your clothing for the day. Selected my clothing, like I was a doll. Sure enough, draped across the chair was a dress I'd never have chosen. Deep green, well-made, with embroidery at the collar. Not quite noble, but far above what an Omega should wear. It was part of the game, I'd realized over the past 3 days. Dress me up nice enough that the pack couldn't call me a servant, but not so fine that anyone forgot I was a prisoner. Protective custody, Darius had announced to the council, while they investigated my bloodline. As if there was any question after the Oracle's prophecy and that mark still burning on my shoulder. I was a problem he hadn't figured out how to solve. So he'd locked me in a pretty cage and thrown away the key. The mate bond pulsed in my chest, a constant reminder of his presence somewhere in the castle. I felt him even now, his irritation, his exhaustion, the way his wolf paced restlessly beneath his skin. 3 days of this, and the bond was getting stronger, more insistent, more painful when we were apart. I dressed in the green gown because refusing would be pointless. Ate the breakfast Petra brought because starving myself was stupid. Then I paced the room like the caged wolf I'd become, counting the hours until nightfall. Darius always came at night. He arrived after dark, like clockwork. I heard his footsteps in the hall, familiar now, the cadence I'd memorized without meaning to. The bond sang with his proximity, making my pulse quicken even as I forced myself to stand by the window, pretending indifference. Kira, just my name. He said it like an accusation. I didn't turn. Your Majesty, don't. His voice was rough. Don't call me that. What should I call the man who keeps me locked in a tower? I asked the window. My jailer? I heard him move closer. The bond stretched between us, desperate to close the distance. My wolf, still new, still strange, rose in my chest, wanting to turn, to go to him, to submit to the pull. I held my ground. I'm protecting you, Darius said. Half the pack wants you dead. Seleni's spreading rumors that you're a demon sent to destroy us. Elder Ironfang is calling for your execution. If I let you roam free, so keep me prisoner forever? I turned now, met those gray eyes that haunted my dreams. What's the endgame here, Darius? You can't hide me indefinitely. He flinched at his name on my lips. Good. Let him hurt like I hurt. I'm trying to find a solution, he said tightly. To what? Me? I laughed, bitter. I'm not a problem to solve. I'm your fated mate. You're a threat to everything I've built. He closed the distance between us in 2 strides, and suddenly we were too close, the bond screaming with satisfaction. Do you understand what you are? What that mark means? The pack historian explained it quite thoroughly today, I said. Corvina's very detailed when she wants to be. Something flickered in his expression. What did she tell you? That I'm a Lunara, that your family built their throne on the corpses of mine, that according to ancient law, my claim supersedes yours. I held his stare. That you're a usurper king, and I'm the rightful heir to not just your pack, but all of them. Darius's jaw clenched. And what do you plan to do with that information? I don't know, I admitted. What would you do if you were me? If you'd spent 23 years as nothing, and suddenly discovered you were supposed to be everything? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled a wrapped bundle from his coat. I brought you something. Food. He always brought food. Small things. Delicacies from the kitchens that never appeared on the trays Petra delivered. Chocolate pastries, fruit out of season. Tonight it was honey cakes, my favorite, though I'd never told him that. The mate bond told him anyway. That's what it did. Whispered secrets neither of us wanted to share. You need to eat more, he said gruffly. You're too thin. Years of servant portions will do that. Guilt flashed across his face. He'd never noticed, I realized. Never looked at me long enough before the shift to see how Selene and her friends had starved me, worked me, broken me down piece by piece. I took the honey cakes because refusing would be childish, and because they smelled delicious, and because the small gesture of care made my traitorous heart ache. Tell me about your parents, Darius said, moving to lean against the wall. Keeping distance between us, though the bond hated it. We'd been through this every night, the same questions, different angles. I told you, they died when I was 5, carriage accident. I barely remember them. No family, no relatives who told you stories? I had no one. The pack took me in out of, what did you call it, charity? I bit into a honey cake, the sweetness almost painful. I was raised by the Omega House mother. She didn't know anything about bloodlines. She just knew I was another mouth to feed. Darius watched me eat with an intensity that made me self-conscious. Through the bond, I felt his conflict, suspicion warring with something softer, something that looked dangerously like caring. I need to know if you're working with someone, he said. A rival pack, maybe. Someone who planted you here. With what? A time machine? I shook my head. I've been in this pack since I was a child. I never shifted. I was powerless. If I'm some grand conspiracy, it's the worst one in history. Then explain the timing. He pushed off the wall, agitation making him move. Why now? Why did your wolf appear the exact moment I tried to force your shift? I don't know. The honey cake crumbled in my grip. You think I planned this? I didn't even know I had a wolf. I thought I was broken, defective, exactly what you all called me. Then you tried to kill me, and something inside me woke up. The Alpha Command, Darius said quietly. It triggered something. Corvina thinks my wolf was suppressed, deliberately. I set down the ruined cake. She said someone would need to use very old magic, very dark magic, to lock away a wolf that powerful. They'd have to start when I was young, maybe even as a baby. Darius stilled. Why would anyone do that? She's going to find out. I met his eyes. The blood tests confirmed I'm Lunara. Now she's researching my parents, their deaths, everything. She says she'll have answers soon. I didn't mention the rest, what Corvina had whispered to me when Darius wasn't there. That she was searching death records, that something about my parents' accident felt wrong, that she suspected murder. Darius was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, haunted. I've been having dreams, he admitted. Memories that aren't mine. I looked at him sharply. What kind of memories? Battle, blood, a castle burning. His expression was distant, tormented. I see it through someone else's eyes, a woman with golden hair. She's running through corridors, trying to reach the nursery. There are children screaming, and then, he stopped, then the Thornwall soldiers find her. My blood went cold. The mate bond, I whispered. It's showing you ancestral memories, from my bloodline. It's showing me the truth. His voice cracked. What my family did. They didn't just overthrow the Lunaris in honorable combat. They massacred them. Hunting parties tracked down every man, woman, child they could find. I see it, Kira. I see them killing babies. The horror in his eyes was real. Whatever he was seeing in these dreams, it was destroying him. My great-great-grandfather built his throne on genocide, Darius said, and I've spent my whole life believing he was a hero. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to hate him for his family's sins. Part of me ached at his pain because the goddess-damn mate bond made his suffering mine. What do you want me to do? I asked finally. Claim my birthright? Start a war? Tear down everything you've built? I don't know. He looked at me, really looked at me, and the vulnerability in his expression made my chest tight. I just know that every instinct I have is screaming at me to protect you, even though you're the one thing that could destroy me. He moved closer. I should have stepped back. Instead, I stood frozen as he raised one hand, hesitating, then gently touched my shoulder where the Lunara mark burned beneath the fabric. The bond exploded between us, fire and starlight and inevitability. I gasped at the intensity, and Darius's other hand came up to cup my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. I don't want you, he said roughly, but I do. I don't want to forgive you, I whispered back, but the bond doesn't care what I want. We were a breath apart. His eyes dropped to my lips. The air between us crackled with tension and need, and the impossible pull of fate. Then footsteps in the hallway shattered the moment. Darius pulled back as Corvina appeared in the doorway, her ancient face grave. We need to talk, all of us, now. Corvina spread documents across my table with shaking hands. Death certificates, council records, letters written in faded ink. I found it, she said. The truth about Kira's parents. Darius stood rigid beside me. I couldn't breathe. They didn't die in an accident. Corvina continued. They were murdered, poisoned specifically. Wolfsbane mixed with nightshade, administered over months to make it look like wasting sickness. The records were altered, but I found the original physician's notes hidden in the archives. Who? Darius's voice was deadly calm. Who killed them? The assassin reported to someone in the Thornwall inner circle. Corvina's clouded eyes fixed on Darius. Someone who's been close to your family for decades. Someone who knew Kira carried the Lunara bloodline and wanted her weak, powerless, unable to claim her heritage. My hands were shaking. They murdered my parents, suppressed my wolf, kept me broken on purpose. For 18 years, Corvina confirmed. They've been watching you, controlling you, waiting. I don't know for what, but someone very powerful has been pulling strings since you were a child. Who? I demanded. Give me a name. I'm still trying to determine. The door burst open. Petra stumbled in, her face pale. My lord, it's Celine. She's in the council chambers with Elder Ironfang. She's demanding Kira's immediate execution, claiming she attacked pack members. That's a lie! I started forward, but Darius caught my arm. It doesn't matter if it's true, he said grimly. If Ironfang backs her, she can force a council vote. I can override it, but it'll look like you're choosing your mate over pack safety, Corvina finished. It'll weaken your position. Darius's grip tightened on my arm. Through the bond, I felt his mind racing, calculating political angles, trying to find a path that didn't end in disaster. I'll go to the council, he decided. Corvina, you come with me, present your findings. If we can prove someone's been manipulating Kira, go, I said quietly. I'll be fine. He hesitated, clearly torn. Then he pressed something into my hand, a small blade, barely longer than my palm. Keep this, just in case. And Kira? His gray eyes met mine. Don't open the door for anyone but me. Then he was gone, Corvina trailing behind him. I sank onto the bed, staring at the knife. My parents, murdered. My wolf, suppressed. My entire life, controlled by someone in the shadows. The mate bond ached with Darius's absence. I hated it. Hated needing him. Hated how right it felt when he touched me. Hated that the man who'd tormented me for years was the only person who made me feel safe now. When Petra brought dinner an hour later, I barely noticed what I was eating. Some kind of stew, bread, wine. I consumed it mechanically, my mind elsewhere. The cramps started 20 minutes later. At first, I thought it was just stress. Then the pain intensified, sharp, stabbing agony in my gut. The room tilted. I tried to stand, but my legs wouldn't hold me. Wolfsbane. I knew the symptoms from pack training. Someone had poisoned my food. I hit the floor hard, convulsing. My vision blurred. Through the mate bond, I felt Darius's sudden alarm, felt him start running. But he was too far away. The council chambers were on the other side of the castle. He wouldn't reach me in time. The poison burned through my veins like acid. I tried to call for help, but my throat closed. Darkness crept in at the edges of my vision. This was it. This was how I died. Not in grand battle, but choking on poison stew in a gilded cage. Then my wolf surged, not gently, not gradually. She exploded to the surface with a fury that made my first shift look tame. Golden light blazed from my skin. The pain didn't stop. It transformed, became fuel for something vast and terrible waking inside me. And for the first time, my wolf spoke. Her voice was thunder and wildfire, an ancient rage-given sound. It filled my skull, my chest, my entire being. Enough hiding, she snarled. It's time they remember what happens when you try to kill a queen. The shift took me, but this time I stayed conscious through it. I felt every bone reshape, every muscle reform. The wolfsbane tried to fight it, tried to poison this new form, but my wolf's power simply burned it away like morning sun destroying shadow. When I stood on four paws again, I wasn't afraid anymore. I was furious. The door to my cage exploded outward in splinters of wood and twisted metal. Somewhere in the castle, an alarm started screaming. Let them scream. It was time for the truth, time for justice, time for everyone who'd hurt me, used me, tried to kill me, to face exactly what I'd become. Time for them to remember that the Lunaras didn't just rule. They reigned in fire and gold and vengeance. and I was done being their victim. Wanting to see what would happen next? Subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 3. The guards found me standing in the wreckage of my prison, and the fear in their eyes was intoxicating. I was human-shaped mostly, but golden light still pulsed beneath my skin like a second heartbeat. And when I looked down at my hands, they were tipped with claws that gleamed like polished metal. My vision was sharper, clearer, every detail of the destroyed room vivid in ways human eyes couldn't process. And in my mind, a presence that hadn't been there before. "I am Aurelia," my wolf said, her voice still thunder but calmer now. "Last queen of the lunar line. I've waited centuries in the bloodline, dormant, until one of our daughters was strong enough to bear my power. Hello, granddaughter. You're the original?" I whispered aloud. "I'm the memory of her. Her rage, her power, her unfinished business. And now, we're going to collect what's owed." Miss Ashford, one of the guards, a young male who couldn't have been more than 20, held his sword with shaking hands. "Please, we need you to—" The rest of his sentence died as Darius exploded into the corridor. He was partially shifted, his eyes full wolf gold, claws extended. The mate bond had dragged him here at a dead run. I felt his panic, his fury, his desperate need to reach me. Then he saw me standing there, covered in golden light, and everything stopped. Our eyes met. The bond between us screamed. Darius's wolf, powerful, alpha, dominant, whimpered and dropped its gaze. I watched his whole body fight the urge to bow, to submit, to acknowledge what I'd become, not just his mate, not just a threat, a queen. "Who?" His voice was barely human. "Who did this?" "The food," I managed, though it was strange talking with fangs. "Wolfsbane in the stew, but my wolf, Aurelia, she burned it out. Petra brought that food." Darius turned to the guards, and the rage rolling off him made them stumble backward. "Find her. Find out who gave her the tray. Someone tried to murder my—" He stopped, the word catching. "Find them. Now." The guards fled. We were alone in the hallway, surrounded by splintered wood and twisted metal. The door I'd destroyed lay in pieces, my gilded cage broken. "Kira," Darius took a step toward me, then stopped as if hitting an invisible wall. "Your eyes. Still golden?" "Still golden." He swallowed hard. "The claws, too. You're holding a partial shift. That shouldn't be possible." "Many things about us shouldn't be possible," Aurelia said, and I felt her push forward slightly, lending her voice to mine. "The thorn walls made sure of that when they tried to erase us from existence." Darius flinched. "That wasn't you. That was—" "My wolf," I said, pulling Aurelia back. "Her name is Aurelia. She has the memories of the last queen. All of them." Something like horror crossed his face. "The betrayal, the massacre. She remembers everything." I met his eyes. "Every moment of the night your family murdered mine." The mate bond twisted with his anguish. I felt it like a knife, his guilt, his shame, the sickening realization that everything he'd been taught was a lie. "I didn't know," he said hoarsely. "I swear to you, I didn't know the truth, but I'm learning it now. The dreams, they're getting worse. Last night I saw—" He stopped, his jaw clenched. "I saw my ancestor kill a child, a little girl with gold hair. She was crying for her mother, and he— Don't." I couldn't hear it, not now. "I know what they did, but you didn't do it. You're not your ancestors. Aren't I?" His laugh was bitter. "I've spent my whole life benefiting from their crimes. This throne, this power, this pack, it's all built on your family's bones." Before I could respond, footsteps thundered toward us. Corvina appeared, breathing hard, with a dozen council members behind her. They stopped short at the sight of me, still glowing, still clawed, still radiating power that made their wolves uneasy. "Mother of wolves," Elder Blackthorn breathed. Then his expression hardened. "What happened here?" "Someone poisoned her," Darius said flatly. "Someone in this castle tried to murder the Lunara heir." The council members exchanged glances. I could practically see the political calculations happening behind their eyes. "Then we need protection," Elder Moonwhisper said carefully. "Enhanced security. Investigation. We need a public declaration. Darius cut her off. No more hiding, no more protective custody. The pack needs to know the truth. My lord, Elder Thaddeus Ironfang stepped forward, his weathered face grave. That's a dangerous move. There are many who won't accept. I don't care what they accept. Darius's voice was pure alpha command. Call an emergency council session. Full pack assembly. We do this now, tonight, before another assassination attempt succeeds. The Grand Hall hadn't been this full since my public humiliation at the Blood Moon Festival. But this time, I wasn't on my knees in the dirt. I stood on the dais beside Darius's throne, dressed in a gown Corvina had found, deep gold that matched my wolf's fur, with the Lunara crest embroidered in silver at the collar. My shoulder was bare, the goddess mark visible to everyone. The partial shift had finally faded, but I could feel Aurelia just beneath my skin, ready to surge forward if needed. Let them see what we are, she whispered. Let them remember what it means to stand before a queen. The pack assembly was chaos, hundreds of voices arguing, shouting, demanding answers. I saw Celine in the crowd, her beautiful face twisted with hatred. She'd been arrested, then released within hours. Too many council members in her pocket, Corvina had explained grimly. Darius stood, and silence fell like a hammer. You all witnessed what happened at the Blood Moon Festival, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. You saw Kira Ashford shift into a golden wolf bearing the mark of Lunara. The pack historian has verified her bloodline through blood tests and genetic markers. There is no doubt. He paused, letting that sink in. The Lunara line is restored. The hall exploded, voices shouting over each other, some in awe, more in anger and fear. She's a threat. The Thornwalls rule by right of conquest. The old laws mean nothing. Silence. Darius's alpha command cracked through the noise. When he spoke again, his voice was deadly calm. Anyone who has a problem with the Lunara heir's existence is welcome to challenge me directly. Here, now. I'll fight every single one of you if that's what it takes. No one moved. Even Selene had enough sense to stay quiet. But Elder Thaddeus rose from his council seat, his expression thoughtful. My lord, no one questions your strength or your right to defend the Lunara heir. But we must consider the pack's stability, the political implications. Get to the point, Thaddeus. The point is compromise. The old wolf smiled, and something about it made my skin crawl. Let the Lunara heir live, acknowledge her bloodline, but to prevent civil war, to maintain peace, she must take a mate chosen by the council, someone who can bridge the old line and the new order. Darius went very still. You want to choose her mate. For the good of all packs. Thaddeus gestured to a young man standing nearby, tall, handsome, with dark hair and sharp green eyes. My son, Marcus Ironfang, is of suitable rank and bloodline. A union between Ironfang and Lunara would satisfy ancient law while maintaining stability. I felt Darius's rage through the bond like wildfire. But Thaddeus was clever. He'd wrapped his power grab in the language of tradition and law. And if she refuses, I asked, finding my voice, then, according to ancient law, a Lunara heir who refuses a suitable match without just cause can be deemed unfit to rule. Thaddeus's smile widened. Of course you're free to choose, but choose wisely, Miss Ashford. Your birthright depends on it. It was a trap, a perfect political trap. Refuse Marcus, and I lose my claim. Accept him, and I become a puppet queen with the Iron Fangs pulling my strings. Through the bond, I felt Darius calculating options, trying to find a way out. But we both knew the truth. The only way to break this trap was for me to claim my fated mate, him, the descendant of my family's murderers. I need time, I said, to consider. Of course. Thaddeus inclined his head. Take 3 days, then announce your decision at the Unity Gathering. The whole pack will witness your choice. The council murmured approval. Darius looked ready to murder someone, but he couldn't object without revealing the mate bond, and that would look like he was trying to claim me for political gain. We were trapped, both of us. Marcus Ironfang found me in the library the next morning. I'd come looking for records, anything that might explain why Thaddeus was so eager to marry me off to his son. Instead, I found Marcus himself, lounging against the shelves like he'd been waiting. Lady Kira, He bowed, graceful and mocking. Or should I say, Your Majesty? Just Kira. I moved to step past him, but he blocked my path. We should talk, he said, privately. About my father's proposal. There's nothing to discuss. Isn't there? His green eyes glittered. You're trapped, Kira. Refuse me. Lose your crown. Accept me, and you're a prisoner to council politics forever. Unless... He leaned closer. Unless you have a third option. Despite myself, I was curious. I'm listening. Marry me, Marcus said. But not as my father intends. Marry me as an alliance. You take the throne as queen, and I help you execute every Thornwall as justice for what they did to your family. We destroy them completely. Darius, his cousins, anyone with Thornwall blood. Then you rule as you were meant to, with me as king consort in name only. I get power, you get revenge. Everyone wins. I stared at him. You want me to murder Darius. I want you to deliver justice. His smile was cold. The Thornwalls built their reign on genocide. They don't deserve mercy. And between you and me, he glanced around, then lowered his voice. I've been working toward this for years. My mother was a Lunara sympathizer, distant cousin to your line. When your parents were murdered, she's the one who saved you, placed you with the pack, suppressed your wolf so you'd stay hidden until the time was right. My blood went cold. Your mother, she's the one who kept you alive when others wanted you dead, yes. Who used dark magic to lock away your wolf, yes. But she did it to protect you, Kira. To keep you safe until you were strong enough to reclaim your birthright. He straightened. She died 5 years ago, but not before making me promise to help you when the time came. This is that time. He's lying, Aurelia snarled in my mind. I can smell the deceit on him. But which part was the lie? That his mother saved me or that he wanted to help me? Why suppress my wolf? I demanded. Why keep me powerless? Because a wolfless Omega draws no attention. You were hidden in plain sight, the perfect disguise. If you'd shifted at 18 like everyone else, with that golden wolf and the goddess mark, you'd have been killed immediately. Marcus's expression was earnest. My mother sacrificed everything to keep you safe. Don't let that sacrifice be for nothing. Take the throne. Make the Thornwalls pay. He held out his hand. What do you say, Kira? Ready to be a queen? I looked at his outstretched hand and felt nothing but cold calculation. No warmth, no connection. Nothing like the fire that burned through me every time Darius touched me. I'll consider it, I said carefully. But I need to know. Who murdered my parents? You said they were killed. Who did it? Something flickered in his eyes. That's complicated. Uncomplicated. The assassin reported to someone in the Thornwall inner circle. I don't know who yet, but marry me and I'll help you find out. We'll hunt them down together. He smiled. Imagine it. Standing over the one who killed your parents, delivering justice with your own claws. Doesn't that sound satisfying? It did. Goddess help me, it did. But the mate bond pulsed in my chest, reminding me of gray eyes and rough gentleness, and a man who brought me honey cakes because the bond whispered my favorites. A man whose family had destroyed mine. I need time, I said. You have 3 days. Marcus withdrew his hand. Choose wisely, Kira. This offer won't come again. The Unity gathering was held in the castle's grand courtyard under the full moon. Every pack member of age attended, dressed in formal attire, waiting to hear my decision. I stood on the raised platform in another golden gown, the Lunara mark burning on my shoulder. Darius was on one side, his face carefully blank. Marcus on the other, confident and smiling. The council arrayed behind us like vultures. I'd spent 3 days in agony, 3 days of Aurelia showing me visions, the night of the betrayal, the screams of my ancestors, the way Queen Aurelia herself had died, cursing the Thornwall name. 3 days of the mate bond singing in my blood, demanding I choose Darius despite everything. 3 days of political maneuvering, threats, and Marcus's increasingly aggressive courtship. Now the moment had come. Thaddeus stepped forward. Kira Ashford, last daughter of the Lunara line, the council awaits your decision. Will you accept Marcus Ironfang as your mate and consort? I opened my mouth to answer. The bullet came from the crowd, silver, blessed, aimed with perfect precision, not at me, at Darius. Time slowed. I saw the trajectory, saw where it would hit, straight through his heart, saw his death written in the path of that silver bullet. "Move!" Aurelia roared, and my wolf surged forward. I threw myself in front of him without thinking, without planning, driven by pure instinct and the mate bond screaming at me to protect him. The bullet hit me center mass. Silver fire exploded through my chest. I heard screaming, Darius's voice raw with anguish. Felt his arms catch me as I fell. The marble floor rushed up, then his face was above mine. His eyes wild with panic and rage. "No! No, Kira! Stay with me!" The mate bond snapped fully into place. Not the half-formed thing we'd been fighting. The complete bond, inevitable and absolute, forged in the moment I'd chosen his life over everything else. I felt him fully now, his terror, his love, his absolute conviction, and he felt me. My pain, my confusion, my treacherous heart that had chosen him, despite every reason not to. "She is mine!" Darius's roar shook the courtyard, pure alpha dominance and fated mate fury combined. "My mate, my queen, and anyone who touches her will burn." The declaration rang through the air like a bell. Undeniable, absolute. The last thing I saw before the silver darkness took me was his face, the descendant of my family's murderers, the man I wasn't supposed to want, my fated mate finally claiming me. And through the bond, as consciousness faded, I felt his desperate promise. "I won't let you die. I won't let them take you. You're mine, and I protect what's mine." Then the world went dark, and I fell into silver fire and shadow. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. I woke to fire in my veins and rage in my heart. The first thing I felt was him. Darius's presence wound so tightly through my consciousness that I couldn't tell where I ended, and he began. His relief crashed over me like a wave. His guilt tasted like ash in my mouth. His desperate, clawing need to touch me, to confirm I was alive, pulsed through the bond like a second heartbeat. The second thing I felt was the mark on my neck. My hand flew to the spot where neck met shoulder, and I felt the raised tissue, a claiming bite, still tender, unmistakably fresh, the mate mark that made everything permanent and irreversible. "You bastard!" Darius sat in a chair beside the bed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Dark circles under his eyes, hair disheveled, still wearing the formal jacket from the Unity gathering, but now stained with blood. My blood. "You're awake," his voice was hoarse. "Thank the goddess you marked me." I sat up too fast, and the room spun. The silver bullet wound in my chest was healed, but I felt the echo of it, the pain, the burning, the moment I'd thought I was dying. I was unconscious, and you marked me without my consent. You were dying. He stood, moved toward the bed, then stopped as if afraid to come closer. The silver was spreading, poisoning your heart. I had to. The bond was the only thing that could save you. I pushed my life force through it. Use the mark to anchor you here. You made the choice for me. I threw the blankets off, suddenly needing to move, to pace, to do anything but lie there, feeling his emotions tangled with mine. You took away my agency, my right to choose. I chose you alive and angry over you dead and gone. His voice rose to match mine. You think I don't know what I did? You think I don't feel your fury right now like it's my own? The bond goes both ways, Kira. I feel everything. Your rage, your betrayal, your... He stopped, jaw clenched. Your fear that you'll forgive me. I froze. Because he was right. I could feel his emotions too, and that was the most terrifying part. I knew his regret was genuine, knew his guilt was eating him alive, knew that when he looked at me, what he felt was so much more than political calculation or bond-driven lust. And I hated that I understood, that I felt it too. This wasn't supposed to happen, I whispered. We weren't supposed to be this. No. He stayed where he was, giving me space even though the bond was screaming at both of us to close the distance. We were supposed to be enemies. Your bloodline and mine, they destroyed each other centuries ago. This bond shouldn't exist. But it does. But it does, he agreed quietly. And now, the whole pack knows it. I claimed you in front of everyone, declared you my mate and queen. There's no going back. Did you want to go back? Aurelia stirred in my mind, curious. Did I? 3 days ago, I'd have said yes without hesitation. Now, with Darius's emotions bleeding into mine, feeling his self-loathing and desperate hope, I wasn't sure anymore. What happens now? I asked. Now? A bitter laugh. Now everything changes. Come here. He gestured to the window. You need to see this. I crossed the room, hyper-aware of the bond pulling tighter as I got closer to him. When I looked out, I saw the castle grounds transformed. Wolves were gathered in groups arguing. Some wore gold ribbons, my color. Others wore silver, his. The pack was literally divided, choosing sides. The claiming triggered ancient law, Darius explained. A marked Lunara heir has legal authority over her mate's pack. You're not just my mate anymore. Kira, you're co-ruler of Silver Crest. Equal power, equal authority. I can't make a decree without your approval, and you can't make one without mine. You gave up absolute control. I stared at him. Why would you do that? Because keeping you alive was worth more than keeping my throne. He met my eyes, and through the bond, I felt the truth of it. And because maybe it's time the Thornwalls stopped ruling alone. Before I could respond, the door burst open. Corvina rushed in, her ancient face grave. You're awake. Good. We have a situation. Another assassination attempt? I asked dryly. Worse. Elder Thaddeus has formally challenged Darius's right to rule. He's calling for a leadership trial, claiming the marking violated your right to choose and therefore invalidates Darius's authority. She spread documents on the nearby table. The council voted. It's happening whether you want it or not. Darius's fury blazed through the bond, but his voice stayed calm. When? 3 days. Full moon. Any wolf of suitable rank can compete for the Alpha King position through combat trials. Corvina looked between us. Thaddeus is backing Marcus as the prime challenger. This was always their plan. Get Kira bound to you, then use that binding as grounds to overthrow you. Let them try. Darius's eyes flashed gold. I've won leadership trials before. Not like this? Corvina's expression was troubled. Not while bound to a Lunara heir. The mate bond will make you vulnerable, especially if Kira is threatened during the trials. They'll use her against you. Through the bond, I felt his determination harden to steel. Then I'll make sure no one gets close enough to threaten her. That night, Darius and I were alone in our chambers for the first time since the claiming. The bond hummed between us, demanding physical contact, but we both held back. I sat on the edge of the massive bed while he paced by the fireplace, maintaining careful distance. I need to tell you something, he said finally, about the bond, what I've been seeing. Seeing? Your memories. His voice was rough. They bleed through the connection. I see everything. Every beating Selena gave you while I looked the other way. Every meal you went without while the pack feasted. Every time you were mocked, hurt, broken down. And I did nothing. The guilt pouring through the bond was overwhelming. I felt it like physical pain. His self-loathing so intense it made me gasp. You didn't know, I said. I should have. He turned to face me, his eyes haunted. You were in my pack, under my protection, and I failed you. Worse, I was part of your suffering. I see the memory of the Blood Moon Festival through your eyes now. I feel what you felt when I grabbed your throat, when I forced the shift, the terror, the certainty you were going to die. His voice cracked. I almost killed my own mate because I was too blind and arrogant to see what was right in front of me. Stop. I stood, moved toward him before I could think better of it. You want to torture yourself? Fine. But I see your memories too. I see your father beating you bloody when you were 10 because you showed mercy to a wounded Omega. I see him forcing you to watch executions, to participate in them, training you to be ruthless because kindness was weakness. Darius flinched. It doesn't excuse anything, I agreed, but it explains it. You were taught to be cruel, Darius. You didn't choose that any more than I chose to be powerless. I was close enough to touch him now. We're both victims of what came before us. You sound like you're trying to forgive me. I'm trying to understand you. I reached out hesitantly, and my fingers brushed his. The bond sang at the contact. The goddess paired us for a reason. Maybe it's time we figured out why. He caught my hand, held it gently. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not. I managed a small smile. But you're stuck with me anyway. Might as well make the best of it. For the first time since I'd woken, I felt something other than anger through the bond. Hope, fragile and tentative, but real. Then he pulled me closer, and I let him. His arms came around me carefully, like I might break. I rested my head against his chest and felt his heart racing, felt his wolf settle at finally having its mate close. I suspected you were special, he admitted quietly. Years ago, before the shift, I'd catch your scent sometimes, and my wolf would react. I told myself it was impossible because you were wolfless, convinced myself I was imagining it. His arms tightened. If I'd listened to my instincts, if I'd investigated, I could have protected you. Instead, I let you suffer. I was drawn to you too, I confessed. Even when you were terrible to me, even when I should have hated you, some part of me always noticed you. I thought I was sick, that it was some kind of trauma response. Now I know it was the bond trying to manifest. We stood there, holding each other, two broken people trying to figure out how to be whole together. Then the door slammed open for the second time that day. Marcus stormed in, his handsome face twisted with rage. You need to see this, both of you. The council chamber was packed. Every elder, every high-ranking pack member, all gathered to witness what Marcus had prepared. He stood at the center, holding a folder of documents. When he spoke, his voice carried to every corner. You all know me as Elder Thaddeus's son. What you don't know is that I've spent the last 5 years investigating the Thornwall family's crimes. He opened the folder with a flourish, and I found something interesting. Records of a meeting that took place 18 years ago, where Alpha King Garrett Thornwall, Darius's father, personally ordered the assassination of 2 wolves living quietly in the Eastern Territories. My blood ran cold. Their names were Elena and Thomas Ashford, Kira's parents. The room erupted. Through the bond, I felt Darius's shock. He hadn't known. But Marcus wasn't finished. Better yet, there's a record of a young Darius Thornwall, age 14, being present at that meeting. He heard his father give the order, and here, Marcus held up another document. Here's a memo from Darius himself, 7 years ago, ordering those records sealed and hidden. He knew what his father did. He knew Kira's parents were murdered, and he buried the evidence to protect the family name. Every eye in the room turned to Darius. Through the bond, I felt his memory surfacing. A 14-year-old boy standing in his father's office, hearing names he didn't recognize, understanding vaguely that an execution had been ordered. Then years later, finding those records during an archive review and realizing what they meant. I was 14, Darius said, his voice cutting through the chaos. I didn't understand what I was hearing. And yes, 7 years ago I found the records. I sealed them because I didn't know who to trust, and I was afraid someone would use them to hurt innocent pack members. Innocent? Marcus laughed. Your father murdered Kira's parents in cold blood because they carried Lunara genetics. He was trying to finish what your ancestors started, complete genocide, and you protected him. The bond was screaming with Darius's anguish. I felt the truth of it. He had buried the records, but not to protect his father, to buy time while he figured out what to do. But now, with Marcus spinning it differently, it looked damning. Is it true? I asked quietly, only loud enough for Darius to hear. Did you know my parents were murdered by yours? Through the bond, I felt his answer before he spoke it. Yes, not at the time, but yes. I found out 7 years ago. I've been trying to find out who gave the order to your father, who else was involved. I was building a case. You should have told me. When? His voice was raw. When you were wolfless and powerless? When I didn't even know you were the Lunara heir? I was trying to protect you. Don't, I stepped back. Don't you dare say you were protecting me by hiding the truth about my parents' murder. The betrayal cut deeper than the silver bullet had. Through the bond, I felt his desperation, his fear of losing me. But I also felt my own heartbreak, and I didn't know which was worse. Corvina appeared at my elbow. We need to talk, privately, now. She pulled me into a side chamber, Darius following. The moment the door closed, she hit us with it. The curse, Queen Aurelia's dying curse. I've translated the full text. She spread ancient parchment on the table, the writing in old script, but readable. It's not just words, It's blood magic. When a Lunara heir and Thornwall heir become mates, the curse activates. It gives the Lunara heir the power to drain the Thornwall's authority, to literally take every pact bond, every oath of loyalty, every scrap of power the Thornwall holds. With a single command, Kira, you could transfer all of Darius's wolves to yourself. You'd become sole alpha, and he'd be nothing. I stared at the parchment. I could destroy him. Completely. Corvina's clouded eyes fixed on me. It's your weapon, your ancestors' gift. The power to take back everything the Thornwalls stole. Through the bond, I felt Darius's acceptance. He'd known this was coming, I realized. Known there would be a price for his family's sins. If you want to use it, he said quietly, I won't stop you. We could rule, Aurelia whispered. Take what's ours, make them all pay. I looked at Darius, at the man who'd hidden my parents' murder, who'd buried the truth, who'd failed me in so many ways, but also the man whose guilt was tearing him apart, who'd given up absolute power to save my life, who was standing here accepting his potential destruction because he thought he deserved it, the man I was beginning to love despite every reason not to. I'm not using it, I said. Not now, maybe not ever, but Darius? I met his eyes. No more secrets, no more protecting me by hiding things. If we're doing this, being mates, being co-rulers, we do it honestly, or we don't do it at all. Relief flooded through the bond. No more secrets, he agreed. I swear it. The leadership trial began under the full moon, the arena packed with spectators. Marcus fought first, defeating 3 challengers with brutal efficiency. He was good, fast, strong, vicious when needed. Each victory brought cheers from his supporters. I watched from the royal box with Darius, feeling his tension through the bond. He'd fight tomorrow, facing whatever challengers remained. For now, we could only watch. Then Selena entered the arena. She wore fighting leathers, her dark hair braided back. But something was different about her. She moved with a grace that seemed almost supernatural, and when she raised her hand to salute the crowd, I saw it, a faint golden glow beneath her skin. No, I breathed. Celine smiled up at the royal box, her hand moving to her stomach. I have an announcement, she called out, her voice carrying across the arena. I'm pregnant. With the heir to the Thornwall line, I demand the council grant me co-ruling rights as the mother of the future Alpha. The crowd went wild. Darius was on his feet, his face pale. That's impossible, he said. We never... Oh, it's not yours, darling. Celine's smile turned vicious, though I'm sure you wish it was. No, this child is something much more special. She pulled her shirt up slightly, revealing her stomach. Through her skin, visible to everyone, the child inside her glowed with golden light. The same golden light as my wolf. Corvina gasped. Blood magic. They took Kira's blood during the assassination attempt, combined it with mine. Marcus stepped forward, his expression triumphant. Creating a child of pure Lunara bloodline. Well, mostly pure, enough to carry the power without the pesky mate bond complications. Horror washed over me. You used my blood to create a child, without my consent? We're creating an heir we can control, Celine said. A Lunara who will rule as we direct. And once this child is born, your usefulness ends, Kira. We'll have everything we need from you. The golden glow intensified, and I felt it. A pull on my power, on Aurelia's essence. They were using the child as a conduit, trying to drain my abilities. They're stealing from us, Aurelia snarled. From our bloodline. This is an abomination. Darius's rage exploded through the bond. You violated my mate, used her blood for dark magic. That's a death sentence. Is it? Thaddeus rose from his council seat. Or is it brilliant strategy? The child carries Lunara power and Iron Fang bloodline. It's not bound to you, Darius, and it gives us a backup heir if Kira proves difficult. I was shaking with fury and violation, and the horrible feeling of something being pulled from inside me. They'd taken my blood, my power, my very essence, and used it to create life I'd never consented to. Kill it, I said, my voice cold. Selena laughed. You can't. The child is protected by ancient laws. Killing an unborn heir is forbidden. You'd lose your claim entirely. She was right, and she knew it. They'd trapped me perfectly, with my own blood, my own power, turned against me. Darius's hand found mine. Through the bond, I felt his promise. We'll fix this. Together. I swear it. But as Celine stood in the arena, glowing with stolen power, carrying a child made from my essence without my consent, I wondered if some violations were too great to fix. And from the triumphant look in Marcus's eyes, he knew he'd finally found the weapon that could destroy us both. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The pack was fracturing before my eyes. In the 3 days since Selene's revelation, Silvercrest had divided into armed camps. Those who saw the blood magic pregnancy as an abomination versus those who called it a purification of the lunar line. Fights broke out in the streets, families split down the middle. The castle itself felt like a powder keg waiting for a spark, and I was the spark they were all watching. "You need to eat something," Darius said quietly, pushing a plate toward me across the table in our chambers. I stared at the food without seeing it. 3 days since I'd learned they'd stolen my blood, my genetic legacy, twisted it into something I'd never consented to. 3 days of feeling violated in ways I couldn't articulate, even through the mate bond. Through the bond, I felt Darius's helpless rage. He wanted to kill them, Marcus, Selene, Thaddeus, everyone involved, but his hands were tied by law. Selene had claimed sanctuary with the council. Marcus had enough supporters to avoid arrest. And the child was protected by ancient laws that even I couldn't break without losing everything. "I can't just sit here," I said finally, "while they use my own blood against me, while they create weapons from my essence." "Then don't sit," Aurelia said, her voice stronger than ever before. "Stand, fight, show them what happens when they violate a queen." I looked up at Darius. "I need to address the pack, all of them, not through the council, not through political channels, directly." "That's not how it's done. I don't care how it's done." I stood, and the bond pulsed with my conviction. "They want to know what kind of queen I'll be? Let's show them." The Grand Hall had never held this many wolves. Every pack member who could walk was present, packed shoulder to shoulder. The tension was so thick I could taste it. Fear, anticipation, rage, all mixing into something volatile. Darius stood beside me on the dais, his presence a steady anchor through the bond. But I knew what I was about to do would change everything. I reached inside myself, past my own consciousness, and found Aurelia waiting. "Ready to show them what we are?" she asked. "We do this together," I said. "Equal partners. No more you hiding in the background while I pretend to be weak." "Finally." Her satisfaction blazed through me. "Let's remind them what it means to serve a queen." I let her rise, not take control, but merge with me. Her ancient power flooded my veins. Her memories became mine. Her presence magnified what I already was. When I opened my eyes, I knew they glowed pure gold. The effect on the pack was immediate. Every wolf present felt it, a pressure against their inner beasts, an authority that made their wolves whimper and bow. Not Darius's alpha command, something older, primal, the voice of the first queen, speaking through me. "You want to know what I am?" My voice carried to every corner, layered with Aurelia's power. "I am Kira Ashford, last daughter of the lunar line. I am the heir Queen Aurelia waited 3 centuries to empower. And I am done pretending to be less than I am." I stepped forward, and the golden light beneath my skin intensified. "Some of you think what Marcus and Selene did was brilliant strategy, creating a pure Lunera air free from Thornwall contamination. I let contempt drip from every word. You call it purification. I call it what it is, violation. They stole my blood, my genetic legacy, my future children, and twisted them into weapons. And you celebrate this?" Silence. No one dared speak. "Others think I should take the throne, destroy Darius, execute every Thornwall as revenge for what their ancestors did." I looked at those wearing gold ribbons, my supposed supporters. "You want me to become exactly what they were, a tyrant ruling through fear and blood. You want me to continue the cycle." I felt Darius's tension through the bond, not knowing where I was going with this. "I reject both paths," My voice rang out. I will not bow to those who violated me, and I will not become the monster my enemies deserve. Instead, I offer you a choice. I reached deeper into Aurelia's power, accessing abilities that hadn't been used in centuries. Pack magic, the ability to speak directly to every wolf's inner beast, to touch the primal consciousness beneath the human veneer. I can feel all of you, I said. Every wolf in this hall. Your beasts recognize what I am, even if your human minds resist it. So I'll speak to both parts of you, human and wolf, and I'll ask you the same question. I spread my arms, and the golden light expanded, touching every person present. Do you want to keep fighting? Keep bleeding over grudges from centuries ago? Keep dividing into factions and destroying yourselves from within? I paused. Or do you want to build something better? A pack, a nation, where power is balanced, where justice matters, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them? Through the pack magic, I felt their responses: fear, hope, confusion, desperation for someone to lead them out of this chaos. I will not rule through fear, I continued. I will not repeat the sins of the past, but I will not tolerate those who use dark magic, who violate others, who destroy innocence in their quest for power. That ends now. I turned to Darius. Through the bond, I felt his love, his pride, his absolute trust in whatever I was about to do. Kneel, I said quietly. His eyes widened. Through the bond, I felt his understanding. This was theater, yes, but also truth. A moment of reckoning. Darius, Alpha King of Silvercrest, descendant of the line that had massacred mine, knelt before me and the assembled pack. The hall erupted in gasps and shouts. I kneel not in surrender, Darius said, his voice carrying despite the chaos, but in acknowledgement. My family's crimes are real. The Thornwalls built our throne on genocide. We hunted Kira's ancestors to near extinction. We ruled through fear and brutality for 300 years. He raised his eyes to mine. I cannot undo what my family did, but I can choose to be better. I offer my throne, my authority, my life, whatever Kira deems just payment for my bloodline's sins. Political suicide. He was giving me everything, the power to destroy him, to take his pack, to erase the Thornwall line completely. Through the bond, I felt why. Not because he thought he deserved destruction, but because he trusted me to choose wisely, because he loved me enough to put that choice in my hands. Stand up, I said. He rose slowly, uncertainty flickering through the bond. I don't want your crown, I told him, told everyone. I don't want your punishment or your guilt. I want your partnership. I took his hand. The age of single rulers is over. The packs will be led by true mates, equal partnerships that balance power with wisdom, strength with compassion, not one ruler, two, always two. I faced the pack again. Darius will rule with me, not because the mate bond forces it, but because I've seen his heart through our connection. I've felt his regret, his desire to be better than his bloodline. He can change. He will change. And together, we will lead you into something new. The pack magic pulsed as I sent my final message directly to every wolf present. Those who stand with us will help build this new era. Those who stand against us. I let Aurelia's ancient fury bleed through, just enough to remind them what I could do. Those who stand against us will learn exactly why queens don't bow. They burn. Marcus and Selene made their move that night. I was in the nursery we'd hastily prepared, hoping, praying that somehow we could save whatever child had been created from my stolen blood when the magic hit. It felt like someone had plunged a hand into my chest and started pulling. My power, Aurelia's essence, draining out of me in golden streams that I could see with my own eyes. I collapsed, and through the bond, I felt Darius's alarm, felt him running toward me. Selene stood in the doorway, her hands on her glowing stomach, Marcus beside her with a triumphant smile. Did you really think we'd let you rule? Marcus asked. This child is our masterpiece, your power, freed from your weakling's heart. All we needed was the right moment to complete the transfer. The spell they were working was intricate, dark, pulling my abilities into the unborn child while simultaneously severing my connection to them. If it succeeded, I'd be powerless, just a human woman with a useless mate bond, and they'd have a Lunara heir they could control completely. Darius crashed through the window, literally shattering glass and diving into the room. He shifted mid-leap, his massive gray wolf tackling Marcus. But Celine kept chanting, kept pulling, and I felt myself weakening. "Fight back!" Aurelia snarled. "The child! Reach for the child!" I understood. The spell was using my stolen blood as a conduit, but blood recognized blood. And this child, created from my essence, was mine in ways Marcus and Selene couldn't understand. I stopped resisting the pull. Instead, I pushed, flooding the connection with everything I was. My memories, my emotions, my love for Darius, my rage at being violated. I sent it all through that magical link directly into the child, and the child responded. Through the connection, I felt her, because it was a her, a daughter, tiny and scared and aware in ways no fetus should be. She felt my presence and recognized it, recognized me as mother, as source, as home. Then she felt Darius through our mate bond, and recognized him too. Father, protector, safe. The spell shattered. Magic exploded outward in a wave of golden light and screaming energy. Selene was thrown across the room, her body convulsing. Marcus screamed as his wolf was ripped from him, not killed, but broken. The connection between man and beast severed permanently. And in Selene's womb, the child was born. Not through natural birth. The magic expelled her, creating her physical form in a rush of power and light. She materialized in my arms. Impossibly tiny, maybe 2 pounds, with golden eyes that mirrored mine and the mark of Lunara already visible on her shoulder. Our daughter, created from dark magic, but born from love's rejection of that darkness. "Luna," I whispered, and I knew that was her name. "You're Luna." Selene's convulsions intensified. The magical backlash was killing her. Her own dark spell turned against her, consuming her from the inside. She reached out desperate, but there was nothing anyone could do. She'd gambled everything on controlling power that was never hers to take. She died screaming. Marcus crawled backward, his eyes wild with loss. A wolf without a beast was worse than death. Still alive, but hollow, broken in ways that couldn't heal. "Exile him," I said to Darius, who'd shifted back to human form. "Let him live with what he's lost. Let him remember every day that he tried to steal power that would never be his." Darius nodded, then looked at the tiny child in my arms. Through the bond, I felt his wonder, his fear, his overwhelming love for this daughter we never planned but couldn't imagine losing. "She's ours," he said softly, "truly ours, in every way that matters." The trial that followed was swift. Thaddeus, cornered and desperate, revealed his final card. "You think this is just about Silvercrest?" He laughed bitterly from his chains. "There are packs in Europe, Asia, Africa, all over the world. They never accepted the Thornwall coup. They've been waiting 3 centuries for a true Lunara heir. And now, she's here." He looked at me with something like respect. "You're not just queen of one pack, Kira. You're the rightful high queen of the entire werewolf nation. Every pack, every territory, every bloodline, all of it answers to the Lunara throne. Your choice to rule with Darius instead of over him." He shook his head. "That's going to change everything. Reshape werewolf society worldwide." Through the bond, I felt Darius's shock mirroring my own. "The old ways are dead," Thaddeus continued. "You killed them when you chose partnership over domination. Now the question is, what will you build to replace them?" 6 months later, I stood in the grand hall that had seen so much pain and transformation, and barely recognized the pack that surrounded us. Silvercrest was thriving. Former enemies worked side by side to rebuild what civil war had nearly destroyed. Thaddeus, stripped of his elder title but allowed to remain in the pack, had become an unlikely advisor, his political cunning useful now that it was directed toward building instead of destroying. Marcus was gone, exiled to the northern territories, a broken wolf who'd lost everything in his bid for power. Selene was buried in the family plot, a cautionary tale about ambition without honor. And Luna was growing impossibly fast, already looking like a 6-month-old despite being born just half a year ago. She had my golden eyes and Darius's dark hair, and she radiated power even in her sleep. "Are you ready for this?" Darius asked, adjusting his formal jacket. Today was Luna's official naming ceremony, where we'd present our daughter to the pack and solidify the new order we'd created. Ready to announce that we're parents to a magically created child who's growing at supernatural speed and might be the most powerful wolf born in centuries? I smiled. Absolutely not. Let's do it anyway. He laughed and pulled me close, the mate bond humming with contentment. We'd navigated so much: grief, betrayal, violation, war, and somehow come through it stronger. I love you, he said quietly, in case I don't say it enough. You say it constantly. Through the bond, I felt his emotions like they were my own, but I don't mind hearing it again. The ceremony was beautiful. Luna, dressed in gold and silver, both our colors, was presented to the pack. Every wolf present bowed, recognizing what she was: the future, the bridge between old bloodlines and new possibilities. Then the messenger arrived. A wolf I didn't recognize, clearly exhausted from hard travel, burst into the hall with wild eyes and trembling hands. Your Majesty, he gasped, bowing low. I bring word from the European Council of Packs. They've heard of the Lunara Queen. They request— He paused, choosing words carefully. They demand an audience. All the old packs, the ones who never bent to Thornwall rule, they want to meet the High Queen. I looked at Darius. Our daughter in my arms, our pack united behind us. And now, apparently, a whole world of werewolf politics we'd barely begun to understand. Through the bond, I felt his steady support. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. Tell them, I said to the messenger, that the High Queen accepts their request. We'll meet on neutral ground to discuss the future of all packs. As the messenger bowed and departed, I turned to address my pack, our pack. This journey isn't ending, I told them. It's just beginning. We didn't just shatter one throne. We're about to rebuild them all. Darius's hand found mine. Luna gurgled happily in my arms, her golden eyes bright with inherited power and innocent joy. I'd been the broken Omega, the pack's shame, the wolfless girl who couldn't even manage what every pup did naturally. Now I was Kira Ashford Thornwall, High Queen of the Werewolf Nation, fated mate to a reformed Alpha King, and mother to a miracle child who would reshape the future. The old Kira, powerless, abused, forgotten, she was gone, burned away in golden fire and ancient magic. In her place stood a queen who'd learned that true power wasn't about dominance or fear. It was about choosing partnership over tyranny, mercy over vengeance, building over destroying. As the pack erupted in cheers and our daughter laughed with pure delight, I felt Aurelia's satisfaction echo through my mind. Well done, granddaughter. Now let's show the world what happens when queens rise from the ashes. I smiled, fierce and certain. The broken Omega was dead. Long live the Queen. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like, and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily, and also to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.